Original charges. The jury delivering that verdict just around 4:30, within mere hours of starting their deliberations. We have team coverage straight ahead tonight. CBS 6's Ashley Kusakonki and Tom Eschen breaking down today's proceedings in court and getting reaction and analysis to that guilty verdict. Other breaking news to bring you tonight. Police investigating shots fired in Watervliet. That led to a standoff.
Let's get right out to CBS 6's Brianna Suparni live near the scene for us. So, Bree, tell us what you're seeing and hearing right now.
Imani, Greg, there are...
Turning now to weather, a look outside at the roads from the CBS 6 Mobile Weather Authority, sponsored by Mohawk Honda. Hopefully we can get that picture for you. Oh, there we go.
Right there. It looks wet right now. We're going to check in today's warmer weather, making way for some snow just in time for this evening commute. We're going to check in, as I said, with Chief Meteorologist Steve LaPointe. How is it, Steve?
All right, Greg and Imani, yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Steve. Guilty of all original charges. It took the jury just about 2 hours to hand up that verdict in the murder trial of Kevin Monahan in Washington County Court. Turning our coverage back to the courtroom tonight right now.
Now, Monahan fired 2 shots in April 2023, one striking 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis in the neck after she and her friends drove up his driveway by mistake. CBS 6's Ashley Kusakonki joining us now live.
And Ashley, a quick verdict here, certainly, even with some last-minute developments in court today. Still, this is a very quick deliberation.
All right, Ashley, thank you. And you can catch up on Ashley's extensive coverage from inside the courtroom by scanning the QR code right there on your screen. And we'll take you right to our website, cbs6albany.com. And we'll head back out live right now inside the courthouse, where family, loved ones of Kaylin Gillis are set to speak publicly for the first time since this trial began.
Yeah, it looks like right now Washington County DA Tony Jordan is speaking, so we'll listen in.
That the system works. We have to be patient. We have to realize that, bad people do bad things, but when they're held accountable, the system works.
Tony, I don't think I've ever seen a closing summation that took more time than the jury took to deliberate. Have you seen a murder case where a verdict came so quickly? And what do you think that says about the way your office and Christian presented the case?
Our responsibility, at its core, is to take the facts, present them to the jury in an understandable fashion, and then be able to wrap a bow around it, right? And so what you saw was the efficient action and the hard work. I mean, that's hours and hours and hours of work to do that. I think this is a case, though, where the facts really spoke for themselves. And in his opening, Christian talked to the jury about it's going to be bit by bit, right? Maybe if you're married to a quilter, you would say it's making a quilt, right? You get all the squares together. Those are your facts. But it's how you put the squares together as to whether or not you get the result that you've identified in this particular case. And because Christian was able to take all of those facts, work with all of our witnesses, and have them be able to tell their story of what happened to them, but then turn around and take 2 weeks of that information and knit it together, stitch it together for the jury. There really wasn't another verdict that I think would have been appropriate given all of that. But they did their job. They were a couple of hours of, but they'd had it for 2.5 weeks. So,
Tony,
I think they spent that time.
Did you have an opportunity to share a moment with the Gillis family post-verdict?
We did, and today is certainly a difficult day.
And right there, you're hearing live from Washington County District Attorney Tony Jordan, who just said the facts really spoke for themselves in this case. Again, Kevin Monahan being found guilty of murder, tampering with evidence, and reckless endangerment. So go ahead and stay with us this hour. Our coverage continues as a jury, again, finds Kevin Monahan guilty of murder in the shooting death of Kaylin Gillis last April. Nearly 800 New Yorkers were killed in traffic incidents last year. Now, families of victims are calling for the passing of Safer Streets legislation, beginning with Sammy's Laws. The law would allow for New York City to determine speed limits. This after a 12-year-old boy was killed by a speeding driver just blocks from his Brooklyn home in 2013. Other legislation includes holding repeat speeders accountable through monitoring technology, and requires drivers to allow 3 feet between them and pedestrians, people on bicycles, and wheelchair users when passing on the roads.
More than 3 people like my son, like Brian, like Jaden, died on our streets in New York State in what is a preventable public health crisis.
While it's heart-wrenching to hear the stories of children who've been struck down, seniors who've been killed by car crashes, that's not enough to just feel bad. What we have to do is pass the bill in the budget.
This will be the fourth legislative session where advocates and lawmakers are trying to pass Sammy's Law. Capital Region Assemblywoman Pat Fahey is a sponsor of the bill. Still to come, filling an education gap for leaders of tomorrow.
Russell Sage College stepping in to pick up where the College of St. Rose will leave off when it closes in just a few months.
And coming up in sports, our play of the week. If you haven't seen it yet, you won't want to miss this shot from the hardwood. In the wake of the scheduled closure of the College of St. Rose, Russell Sage College now expanding their leader education programs. The new program is a partnership with Russell Sage and the Center for Integrated Training and Education, or CITE. It's a hybrid program for teachers returning to school for leadership positions in education, including as principals, superintendents, and instructional coaches. St. Rose offered a similar program. Russell Sage now working to adopt it.
Just like there's a teacher shortage, for very similar reasons, there's an administrator shortage. So there's fewer teachers who typically become administrators. So when there's fewer teachers, there's fewer people becoming administrators. There's also the conflicts that you see in schools today, where people...
CITE is a company that works with colleges in New York to provide programs for students downstate that may not have access to those campuses, helping more than 500 administrators a year for 25 years, even working with Russell Sage on an education program in the past.
Snow, we'll have to watch it. It may be significant with colder weather to follow Monday and Tuesday.
All right, nothing wrong with a little optimism, right?
Yeah, almost back there to the sunshine, way at the end.
Yeah, it's coming. Spring's coming. Right around the corner. Don't worry. All right, sports coming up after the break. First, here's a look at what's ahead at 5:30 tonight.
Assessing funds to address climate change in the 2025 state budget. We hear from environmental advocates who argue the amount of funding set aside is still not enough.
New fallout over a ruling by the Supreme Court on the Texas border. I'm Christine Frizzell with a look at the changing landscape, immigration, now on the top of voters' minds.
Hi, guys, back to you.
It's very impressive.
That is good. I can see that shot over and over again. I may look at it again later. All right, coverage continues straight ahead at 5:30. Coverage of the guilty verdict just handed up today in the murder trial of Kevin Monahan.
Guilty on all original charges. We're hearing from the defense counsel just ahead tonight.
CBS 6 News starts now with breaking news.
If you're just joining us here at 5:30, major breaking news with a Washington County jury finding Kevin Monahan guilty of all original charges in his murder trial for the 2023 shooting death of Kaylin Gillis.
The jury taking just hours, about 2 hours, to reach that verdict. Coverage continues now as we head right back out to CBS 6's Ashley Kusakonki, who has just spoken with Monahan's lead defense counsel. Big loss for him, and again, a very quick deliberation.
Reduced visibility and slick conditions.
All right, Steve, thanks. You can get your weather updates anytime with the CBS 6 Weather Authority app. You can find that in your app store by searching WRGB. Environmental advocates say New York is falling behind in trying to reach its climate goals at the current rate of funding for climate initiatives.
In her 2025 budget proposal, New York Governor Kathy Hochul put forth several initiatives to adapt to climate change, but now some are asking why more isn't being done to prevent it. CBS 6's Tom Eshin reports for us from the state capitol.
This year, we're committing $400 million.
CBS 6 News.
It's decision day in New Hampshire for the first in the nation primary. A big turnout, especially on the Republican side, for a two-person race between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. Our reporter Greg Lagerquist is at the polls in New Hampshire tonight with a look at the turnout.
New Hampshire always takes. Lagerquist, back to you.
And to add to the confusion of today's Democratic primary in New Hampshire, there's a push for voters to write in ceasefire instead of anyone's name.
Yeah, a group of progressive activists say it's a protest.
A fierce battle over the Texas border is not letting up despite a ruling by the Supreme Court. As state officials argue the federal government is failing in its duty to secure the border, federal officials say they're not being allowed to. All this set against the backdrop of a country that cares more deeply about this issue than ever before. Here's national correspondent Christine Frizzell. Many use payment apps as a way to send money, but Manhattan's district attorney is warning that theft while using those apps is on the rise. DA Alvin Bragg says culprits range from violent offenders to swindlers who trick their way into locked smartphones. Bragg sending a letter to several payment services demanding they put in more security measures, including lower transfer limits and increased monitoring for unusual activity. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and Zelle did not respond to requests for comment.
Award-winning journal welcome and to give crows heart attacks. That's the kind of thing that Charles Osgood would write and people ate it up with a spoon because it was so good and so different.
A true pro, and he was loved by so many and will be definitely missed by so many as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Charles.
All right, well, ahead here at 5:30, wild video out of Southern California, record rain and terrifying flooding in San Diego. Plus, warm weather this week should have you thinking twice about heading out on lakes that look frozen. The icy dangers that lay beneath your feet.
Got some wild video to show you tonight here out of San Diego. Flash floods caused by a winter storm on Monday, breaking records in the region.
Yeah, take a look at this video. In just a matter of hours, some places seeing as much as 4 inches of rainfall. That's nearly half of the county's yearly average. Along with widespread flooding, there were also significant power outages with dozens of people being rescued. Other videos show cars being swept away by flood waters. Well, a warm-up finally on the way for the capital region this week. This after bitter cold temperatures hit us for the first time this winter.
Yeah, it was cold, and that cold means local lakes and rivers are showing signs of freezing over, but not enough to be safe. Mary Keeler shows us the situation in the Syracuse area to give some perspective on the dangers of going out there on the ice.
As you can see behind me,
with drier weather returning for Monday and Tuesday.
A little gloomy there, but 48, I'll take that.
We'll take that chance too, right?
All right, Steve, thank you. Well, coming up at 6 tonight on CBS 6, a former New York governor paving his way with a new career, music.
Yeah, David Patterson returns to Albany, putting on a show for former colleagues from the state capitol. He and I chatted all things music.
Season kicks off next week, and there's a few things to know for those who haven't yet caught up with past taxes.
Who's excited about this, right? The IRS will send out notices for unpaid taxes again after pausing them for a while because of the pandemic. The Associated Press, via NerdWallet, says read your notice as soon as possible to avoid even worse penalties. You can set up a payment plan, and you may be eligible to do so through the website, the IRS website. If you owe a lot of money or have a complicated issue, it may be time to reach out to a CPA or a tax attorney.
Meantime, CBS 6 caught up with Jackson Hewitt Tax Services today about why it's always helpful to file your taxes early.
If you file early, you lock up your personal information, your spouse if you have one, dependents if you have those, you lock that data up with the IRS. So if some person out there has stolen or bought your data on the dark web, they can't come file a fake tax return and try to steal your tax refund.
Experts say filing early also means you won't have to pay your taxes until they're due on tax day, but you still get your refund early regardless. Well, Grammy-winning singer-songwriter Billy Joel has a new single coming out, his first in 17 years.
It's a long time. It's called Time to Turn the Lights Back On. The 74-year-old posted a short video on social media announcing the new song will drop on February 1st. His last single, All My Life, came out back in 2007. At the time, it was Billy Joel's first new music since his 1993 album, River of Dreams. His longtime residency at Madison Square Garden ends in July after 10 years. His last show will be his 150th ever at the Garden. I saw him once at the Garden, and I regret that I didn't see him more.
Oh, yeah.
I bet those tickets are going for a lot, these final couple
I'm
of
sure
shows,
they are, yeah.
All right, still to come tonight, continuing breaking news coverage from Washington County.
Kevin Monahan guilty of murder and the shooting death of Kaylin Gillis last April in Monahan's driveway. The quick deliberations today and what comes next.